179 people appointed by the chief executive as district council members. 2 Chinese-made passenger jets, the C919 and ARJ-21, make their first flight to the city. And President Xi Jinping begins visits to Vietnam. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The government today announced the names of the 179 appointed district council members, many of them former district councillors. Among the various groups, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong has the largest number of appointed members, 147. Mimo Singhai reports.
The 179 district council members were appointed directly by Chief Executive John Lee. Many are informal district councillors or members of the other committees. The government said its choice of members was based on several criteria, including the development needs of each district. 2 ethnic minority representatives, Wiswan Ula and Aruna Gurung, were appointed to councils in the Kowloon City District and the Yau Tsin Mong District, respectively. The youngest appointed member is Zhong An-ting from the Saigon District. The 23-year-old studied at the School of Government of Beijing University. Among the appointees, Jin Ling from the Central and Western District is the chairman of the Hong Kong Island Women's Association. Dentist Eugene Chen is also the host of a TVB Public Affairs program. Some appointed district councillors, such as Zhou Kim-ho and Nancy Choi, are principals of local schools. Alan Wong from the Path of Democracy became a Yunnan district councillor, a centrist appointed member. Meanwhile, the registration of 27 incumbent chairmen of rural committees as ex-officio members was also announced in accordance with the District Council Ordinance. Overall, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong is the biggest party in District Council with 147 seats, followed by the Federation of Trade Unions with 43 seats. News 9, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee said today the public should not simply focus on the voter turnout rate of this year's district council election. Lee's comment came after geographical constituency elections in last Sunday's polls saw a voter turnout rate of 27.54%, the lowest since the 1997 handover.
We had about 1.2 million voters coming out to vote. I think that was a good turnout. First of all, I think each election has its own characteristics. The enhanced and improved district council election system has the merits of producing the most qualified and competent district council members to contribute to the well-being of the district.
The CE also said he is very concerned about the computer system failure during the election. He said the incident will be included in a report that he will present to the central government in Beijing later this month. 2 China-made passenger jets, the C919 and ARJ-21, made their first flight to Hong Kong this afternoon. Some groups were invited to board the planes to take a look at the homegrown aircraft. The C919 will fly over Victoria Harbour this Saturday. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The mainland-manufactured ARJ-21 jets landed in Hong Kong at around 2 p.m. after departing from Shanghai Pudong International Airport this morning. Just 2 minutes later, the C919 also made its way to the city, marking the plane's first flight outside of the mainland. The aircraft received a water arch welcome after landing at Hong Kong International Airport. The planes later taxied to the airport's North Satellite Concourse. Some tourists made an effort to catch a glimpse of the homegrown aircraft before leaving the SAR. This visitor from Singapore said it's rare to see a China-made plane outside of the mainland, so he wanted to use the opportunity to take some photos. Both planes were produced by state-owned passenger aircraft manufacturer Comac. The C919 made its maiden first flight in 2017. The first commercial C919 was delivered to China Eastern Airlines last December and entered service earlier this year. The ARJ-21, the first advanced regional jet manufactured in China, began its commercial service back in 2016. As of now, more than 100 ARJ-21s have been sold and are set to enter into the international market. This Saturday, the C919 will conduct a flypast over Victoria Harbour before departing from the territory on Sunday. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The government today announced the Hong Kong Major Transport Infrastructure Development Blueprint with a planning framework for strategic railway and major road networks for the coming 30 years. The North Island Line Railway project, first proposed by the government in 2014, has been shelved. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Lam Sai-hung said the government plans to strengthen the connection between the Northern Metropolis and Victoria Harbour Metropolis with a railway line between Kowloon Tong and Kam Tin that passes through Kwai Chung and Tsuen Wan. The government will also build bypasses in Sha Tin and Tuen Mun to connect the highways for Yuen Long and Lantau Island. President Xi Jinping began a two-day visit to Vietnam today in a bid to upgrade ties between Beijing and Hanoi. The trip comes 3 months after U.S. President Joe Biden traveled to the Vietnamese capital as the major powers vie for influence in the Southeast Asian nation. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Making his first trip to Vietnam in 6 years, President Xi Jinping was welcomed at Hanoi Airport by Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. People on the route to his hotel waved flags of both countries. During the visit, Xi will hold talks respectively with the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyen Phu Trong, and the President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Vo Van Thuong. He will also have dialogue with Prime Minister Pham and the Chairman of the National Assembly, Wang Din-hui. Among the deals expected to be brokered during the visit are Chinese investments to upgrade rail links between the neighbours, which would include grants. However, the volume and terms of possible loans are not clear. Boosting transport links would allow Vietnam to export more to China, especially farm products. Beijing wants to further integrate the country's north with its southern supply chain networks. Ahead of the visit, President Xi expressed his thoughts on China-Vietnam ties in an opinion piece in the Vietnamese Communist Party's newspaper. He said he expects to have an in-depth exchange of views with Vietnamese leaders on the overarching and strategic issues critical to the direction of the two countries' relations. Xi stated that international and regional issues will also be discussed. The Chinese leader said Asia's future is in the hands of no one but Asians, noting a community with a shared future between the two countries would have strategic significance. Xi urged wider cooperation on security, connectivity, green energy and critical minerals. He called for faster cooperation on building infrastructure. However, despite boasting very close ties on the economic front, the neighbours have been at odds over boundaries in the South China Sea and have a millennia-long history of conflict. Dan Rell, TV News.
A top Japanese minister at the center of allegations of missing funds survived a no-confidence motion today. The motion against Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno, brought by Japan's main opposition party, was comprehensively voted down by 278 members to 166. After the vote, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida said he wanted Matsuno to continue in his post. Kishida has seen his public rating slide over the reports of the probe into allegations that some lawmakers received thousands of dollars in unreported funds. Local media had reported Matsuno was among 4 cabinet ministers that could be replaced as soon as Wednesday, as Kishida has pledged to restore trust in government amid the allegations. Russian President Vladimir Putin traveled to a shipyard on Monday to attend the commissioning of new nuclear submarines. Putin's trip to the Sevma shipyard in the northwest of the country came 3 days after he declared his intention to seek another 6-year term. Speaking at the shipyard, Putin pledged to carry out plans to modernize the Russian Navy. He oversaw raising the Navy's flag on the newly built Emperor Alexander III and Krasnoyarsk. Each of these submarines is armed with 16 nuclear-tipped Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles. Putin announced that 8 more such submarines are under construction. Still ahead, UN Security Council members visit the Rafah crossing as hunger is worsening among Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. At the UN Climate Forum in Dubai, no agreement on the draft wording and phasing out fossil fuels. And a $10 million robbery at a watch shop in Tsim Sha Tsui. Welcome back. Israel has pushed back against international calls to wrap up its offensive in the Gaza Strip, saying the operation will take time. This as 12 members of the UN Security Council visited the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing to inspect aid trucks going into Gaza. Gaza officials say more than 18,200 people have been killed as Israel continues its assault on the enclave in response to the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas and other groups that killed 1,200 people. More than 130 hostages remain inside Gaza. Nasfi Karim has details.
Starving Palestinians are seen commandeering an aid truck at the Rafah crossing near Egypt and scrambling for supplies, stoking United Nations fears that the situation in the Gaza Strip is ripe for a potential explosion of civil unrest by a desperate population. Just a few kilometers away on the Egyptian side of the crossing, 12 representatives of the United Nations Security Council are there to inspect aid delivery. Around 100 aid trucks are allowed into Gaza every day, a fifth of the volume before hostilities broke out on October 7th. Though not inside Gaza, many of the representatives understood what was happening on the other side, knowing airstrikes are not the only thing killing Palestinians. Death is also being dealt by hunger, cold and disease. China's UN representative Zhang Jun has long been pushing Beijing's wish for an immediate ceasefire, which the UN General Assembly is likely to overwhelmingly adopt later on Tuesday in a non-binding vote in New York.
This is really a tragedy, and it has been too long. We have suffered too much. So for the Security Council, definitely to maintain peace and security is our primary responsibility. And we have tried very hard. And of course, we need to do more.
The wording in Tuesday's UN General Assembly vote is likely to be similar to the Security Council vote on Friday that gained 13 in favor but was vetoed by permanent member, the US. It is also expected to garner greater support than the October General Assembly resolution that had 121 in favor, 14 against and 44 abstentions. Though the General Assembly vote is non-binding, it carries political weight and Palestinians are hoping it would highlight global support for an end to Israel's bombardment. The resolution will also call for the release of all hostages taken by Hamas. The United States, meanwhile, says it is concerned about the reported use by Israel of white phosphorus, which is legal in war only to create smokescreen, but can cause severe burns. Israel has denied the accusations. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
An official from Yemen's Houthi group said it has fired a missile that slammed into a Norwegian-flagged tanker in the Red Sea. No one was injured. Houthi military spokesperson Brigadier General Yahya Saree said in a video statement they fired when the vessel rejected all warning calls. The assault on oil and chemical tanker Strinda expands a campaign by the Iranian-backed rebels, who say they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. The Houthis say they only target ships heading to Israel, though the Strinda was reportedly on its way to Italy from Malaysia. The annual UN Climate Forum COP28 in Dubai may delay its Tuesday close after parties failed to agree on a number of issues. Many are unhappy about the draft wording on phasing out fossil fuels, seen as crucial to lowering the global temperatures by 1.5 degrees. The release on Monday of a draft agreement angered countries that insist on a commitment for the rapid phase-out of coal, oil, and gas. Instead, the draft called on countries to reduce, quote, consumption and production of fossil fuels in a just, orderly, and equitable manner. Some developing nations resisted a fossil fuel phase-out, saying it is unfair that wealthy nations had benefited from it for centuries, but now they are to be denied. The United States, China, and Germany are among the countries unhappy with the final draft.
This text is clearly insufficient and disappointing. The text is far away from what the world needs for a turning point, missing the tools we need to keep 1.5 degrees in reach. Key elements are unacceptable. Most of all, the current text on fossil fuels misleads the world. It suggests that fossils can continue to play an essential role in our future. This sends a misleading signal to our businesses, to our markets.
Hong Kong has also sent representatives to the COP28 climate change summit in Dubai. And for the first time, the city's delegation gave a presentation in an official capacity. Among the delegates is former Solicitor General of the government, Daniel Fung, who is now the vice chairman of the Financial Services Development Council. Fung explained on TVB's Straight Talk program Hong Kong's important role in combating climate change.
By promoting, developing, and deepening green finance, we are able to combat climate change and balance a number of policies. Hong Kong comes in is because Hong Kong is a global financial center. Right. Third after New York and London, and we have achieved two firsts in the world this year. Number one, we issued the world's first tokenized green bond in February of this year. Later in the year, we issued the world's largest retail green bond. We were able to attend.
Fung also said Hong Kong wants to build stronger ties with the Middle East, and the city can do things China finds difficult to do. He added the government should open an economic and trade office in the capital of Saudi Arabia, as it is the core country in the region. 23 stores in Shenzhen's Luohu district have become the first batch of shops to provide instant departure tax refund service to overseas tourists. Shoppers from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan are also eligible for the tax refund. This Russian tourist was the first to make use of the new service. He spent over 16,000 yuan on a handbag and received over 1,400 yuan in tax refund. Shenzhen is the sixth mainland city to pilot the service after Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, and Chengdu. The mall operator says most products will be cheaper after the tax refund than similar items in Hong Kong. A watch shop in Tsim Sha Tsui was robbed by 4 armed men who took around $10 million worth of watches. Sources said a number of the shop staff were held at knife point, but not injured. The incident occurred on 25 Granville Road. The store's glass doors and displays were smashed. Police received reports at around 3:30 p.m. of 4 robbers armed with knives and hammers storming into the shop. They fled the scene in a car after taking around 30 watches and headed towards Chatham Road South. Sources said several of the robbers are of South Asian descent. Starting tomorrow, eligible elderly residents aged 65 or above can register for free jabs targeting the COVID XBB variant. Medical experts have predicted there will be a spike in COVID infections during the winter and urged residents to get vaccinated. Elderly people who have not been previously vaccinated or received a jab and recovered from the virus within the past 6 months are eligible for the shots. Those interested can register online from 9 a.m. tomorrow. A female beauty parlor manager was earlier charged with unlicensed medical practices after providing, quote, natural healing treatments for cancer patients. She was found not guilty of the charges today. The 63-year-old defendant appeared at the district court. She received around $3 million from 3 cancer patients after providing them with magnet therapy and spiritual healing treatments. The defendant also suggested patients stop taking medication. 2 patients later died. The judge ruled that the defendant was not guilty after finding the prosecution's statements on medical treatment untenable and excessive. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.